Welcome to Collecting Chaos. My name is James, and today we're going to talk about comic books. Now, there's a surprise. Comics originally, the ones from, and no, we're talking Platinum Age, Golden Age, the ones that started in the 30s, not the older ones from the 1800s or the 1900s or the really early stuff, but the ones that started around the 30s. A lot of those were considered ephemera. As a matter of fact, some of the earliest comics were inserts into newspapers, which definitely makes them ephemera, because you'd buy the newspaper and you get this thing for free. You could read it and throw it away. And of course, they had comic sections in the Sunday paper for years and years and years. I don't know if they still do. I haven't read a newspaper in probably 40 years because I get all my news online. Go figure. But yeah, there was something to be read and thrown away or traded away or given away, or like I said, you light your furnace with it or whatever. And it wasn't really until the early 70s, I'm going to say, when comics really started to become widely collectible. And even then, to a certain extent, they were still considered by most adults as something for children. They would read them and they would destroy them or they would throw them away. There's not something you would keep for a long period of time. And specifically, the direct market is when I think comics crossed over fully in from ephemera collectibles to mainstream collectibles, and becoming a category in and itself, much like stamps, coins, matchbooks. All that is ephemera, but they're mainstream collectibles. And many of them have been for years. People collected matchbooks for years, trading cards for years, coins, stamps. Oh, stamps. What's a stamp? A stamp is a postal ephemera. It has a monetary value. That's the difference. You can actually use stamps. At one point, you could use a stamp to pay for something. You can't do that anymore. People just look at you like you've lost your mind. And you owe 5 cents, you hand them a 5-cent stamp, they're going to laugh at you and say, give me a nickel. But yeah, that's how that went. Now, I was going to do this whole thing I'm going to talk about today, and I've got quite a few different topics. I was going to do it as a stream, a live stream. And I might still do a live stream on some of these topics at a later date, but I decided for now, I just want to give my opinions on this stuff, and that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, I'll talk to you a minute about Fridays. Because Friday is a great time to be a comic book collector. And the reason I say that is because Friday night we have the longest running Friday night comic book auction, claim sale, on YouTube. Horizon Picks channel. I'll link in the description. And yeah, no, what the heck? I'll put one up here. I think it goes on this side. Might go on that side, but I'm pretty sure it goes on this side. And I'll leave a link at the end of the video as well. But, we always have a lot of fun. It's worth coming by and saying hi and seeing us, and who knows, you might find something you want. You never know. Yeah, we sell comic books, but they sell t-shirts too. A lot of good t-shirts, a lot of older t-shirts. We sell toys. I sold some plush last week. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to sell until somebody buys it. So yeah, come on by Horizon Picks channel and stop and see us. And if you don't want to go to his channel, well, you can watch it on mine. But if you want to buy something, it need to be on his channel. Because while I do dual stream it, I stream it on my channel as well as his. We prefer that you do any claims on his channel. There you go. That's my shameless self promotion for myself and my good friend Roy Horizon Picks. So what are we going to talk about? Let's talk about grading comics. And I see, I hear you. Oh, there he goes. He's going to talk about do it this way, do it that way. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about why should you grade your comics, especially if you don't plan to sell them. And why do you need to know how to grade your comics if you don't plan on selling them? Well, there's a pretty good reason, really, because if you don't know how to grade your comics or grade comics in general, and I'm not saying you have to be able to say, okay, this is a 9.6 and it's going to be a 9.6. I mean, high grade, mid grade, low grade, you need to know what the differences are in them. And the reason for that is so that you don't get ripped off. You don't go out and take somebody's word for it when they say, this is a near mint copy and it's got, spine stress or spine ticks all the way down the end and would be lucky to make fine. You need to know that stuff so that you don't pay too much. And I've had some interesting run-ins where if I hadn't known uh, about grading and about the different about what a comic is worth based on its grade, I would have paid too much and never known. It happens. As it is, I've still paid too much on a couple of comics. And I knew. I knew when I did it, I paid too much. But that's okay because in the long run, it all worked out. Now, should you grade your own collection? If you're talking about should you send them off to CGC or CBCS or PGX or one of these other grading companies and have them all graded, no. Maybe a couple of comics if you really like them and you want to have them protected in a plastic slab that's encased in plastic so that you can never read it. Sure, yeah, go for it. Be my guest. I'm not going to do it, but there's no reason why you shouldn't. What I'm talking about is should you grade your own comics? Should you take one of your comics and go through it and go, well, let's see, there's a spine tick here and a spine tick there, and this looks like a very fine to near mint copy. Should you do that? Absolutely 100% yes. Should you bother writing the grade on them? Nah, I wouldn't. What's the sense in grading a comic book if you're not going to write the grade on it? Practice. Because the more you do, the better you'll get at it. And the quicker you'll see these defects that might be of benefit later when you see somebody charging a 9.6 price for a comic and hey, this is only like a 7.0. This is only like a fine copy or fine to very fine copy. You might be able to bring that to their attention and get a lower price, Gives you a bargaining chip, so to speak. Gives you a point to start at. And so, yes, I think everybody should grade their own collection, even if it's only this is a high grade, this is mid grade, this is a low grade. What would that do for you? Well, the low grade, you may at some point want to upgrade to mid or high grade. Maybe you want just a better looking copy for your own collection. Or maybe you don't care. It's coverless and you don't care. It's good enough. Maybe you have a copy of Spider-Man 300 and it doesn't have a cover, but you don't care because you have a copy of Spider-Man 300. That's fine. No problem. If that's what you want, that's what you want. But most collectors like their stuff to look nice because they want to show it off. They want to share it with other collectors. So they look for a higher grade copy when they can afford it. So you do need to know about your comics. You should probably know about how to grade them. Let's move on. Talk a little bit about ethics. And I'm going to kind of approach this in a roundabout way. It's not a big secret to most people that I do sell comic books. I have a lot of comics. I have a big collection, and I also have quite a few that I would like to sell. Now, I also, it's not a big secret that I clean comics, I press comics, I attempt to remove some defects. I even do conservation and minor restoration on comics. Now we'll talk about ethics. If a someone that sells comics cleans the comic, should they be obliged to tell the person buying it that it has been cleaned? The same with pressing. If they press the comic, should they tell the person this comic has been cleaned and pressed? Or just buyer beware? To me, that falls under the same category of, this comic has a major defect, but you want to get a better price, so you're not going to tell the buyer about the defect. Maybe they won't notice. Like the guy that sells the Hulk 181 that's missing the Marvel value stamp, but doesn't bother telling the person that buys it that it's missing that Marvel value stamp. They send it to CGC. CGC notices it, come back and says it's qualified grade because it's missing the value stamp. Oops. I think if you're going to sell comics, you should tell whatever defects, major defects. I'm not talking about spine ticks and just little stuff. You can hold it up to the camera and let people see what it is. I'm talking about major stuff. Spine splits, major creases. It was a subscription copy. It's been cleaned and pressed. You've removed some spine ticks, but there's always a chance that they might come back. Things like that. It's missing a coupon. It's got a page missing. It's detached at the lower staple. This stuff, you absolutely, as a seller, it's your responsibility to inform the buyer of these things. Because otherwise, you're not going to have a good relationship with that buyer. Is it even, and for that matter, is it even ethical for me to clean a comic book that I plan to sell? Provided I tell people that I've cleaned it or that it has been cleaned. I don't have to tell them I cleaned it, just that it has been cleaned or it has been pressed. Yeah, you should tell them. I think it's unethical not to, in my opinion. Now, I mentioned a little bit about conservation, and I want to talk a little bit about conservation because we have two terms that are used in comic books: conservation and restoration. Conservation good, restoration evil. Now I'm going to say something that's going to confuse the hell out of you. All conservation is restoration. Not all restoration is conservation. Cleaning a comic book is conservation, but it's also restoration. Okay, pressing a comic is conservation, restoration. Removing defects is conservation, restoration. Anything you do to a comic to take it back to its original state is restoration. But it's under the heading of conservation because for some reason comic book people make a differentiation between the two. If you use Dengojo paper or document repair tape or something along that line, it's considered conservation. If you use uh, cellophane tape or invisible tape, it's restoration. The main difference is if you do something to a comic that can be undone, it's conservation. If you do something to a comic that can't be undone, it's restoration. Can you unclean a comic? Can you unwhiten a comic? Unpressing a comic is easy. You let it sit without finishing the press and it goes back to its original state. If you do something to a comic, like lighten the pages, clean the cover, that is restoration that cannot be undone. It's actually conservation that cannot be undone, which moves it into the restoration category. However, it is conservation. 99% of what comic book people say is bad because it's restoration is actually conservation done by amateurs. Now, I'm in the process of conserving, restoring, renovating, however you want to say it, Superman number 18. It was missing the cover. It was missing the first 3 wraps. It was missing the 2 center wraps. I printed those out. I'm putting it all back together. I'm even considering making pieces to go where it's missing pieces. It will all be conservation. There will be no restoration done. Now, how can I say that? Because everything I do to that book can be undone, will be able to be undone. You can take the staples out. You can remove the cover and the manufactured pages. You can soak the Tengojo, and because I'm going to use Tengojo paper on the parts that I need to use it on, you can soak that with a little bit of water and it will come right off. It's all conservation. But when the comic is finished, if I sent it to CGC, they would say it was restored, even though everything is reversible. It's the way it is. I don't plan on sending it to CGC. I just want to read the darn thing. Now we're going to talk about one more thing. Let's talk about ordering comic books off eBay, in particular individual issues. There are some really good sellers out there, some okay sellers, and some that just don't seem to care one way or the other. What can you do? We're going to go over some that I recently purchased and take a look at the descriptions. First description, condition, like new, clean, bright and tight, vivid colors, a really nice, and that's it, a really nice. And what they're talking about is this Rocketeer Special Edition from Eclipse Comics. It's Dave Stevens art, so I really don't care. I mean, it's something that I didn't have. I wouldn't say it's like new. I would put this at a fine to very fine. It does have some stress wear, as you can see. The stress marks here. Along with that lot, I got Alien Worlds number 2 from PC. I might have this one. I don't know. I haven't checked yet. Again, a lot of stress marks. I would put this in a fine condition. So Like new? No. Nice copies? Yeah, they're reasonably nice. Would I have liked to have had near mint ones? Absolutely. But with that stuff, you take what you can get because it's getting expensive. Anything by Dave Stevens is really getting up there in value. Next up, and let's get something straight. I did not buy those as an investment to sell later for more money. I bought those because I'm a big fan of Dave Stevens' art. Don't plan on selling it. Next, book is very fine condition with no damage to the inside. And it's they have it listed as Angel and the Ape number 77. It's actually showcase number 77. First appearance of Angel and the Ape. As for no damage to inside, well, I kind of disagree with you there, buddy. Very fine? No. Fine? Yes. They did offer me a refund, which I took. They offered me $20 off. I just said 15 will be fine. Uh, Dropping it down to 15 by $15 put it at the about the right price by Overstreet's price guide. So I was happy with that value. Uh, and I made sure to let them know, hey, make sure you take a better look at what you're selling so that you don't get a lot of returns on that stuff. Because I could have just sent it back and made them pay for it. Next, acceptable condition, acceptable. A low grade 1.0 filler copy, cover worn and detached, that interior is complete. Spot on, good, a really good statement as to the condition. Very happy with this seller. Yeah, I would have liked to have had a nicer copy, but this book is not getting any cheaper. This is the first appearance of the Atom, the Silver Age Atom. So, good seller. I may do business with him again in the future. Next, very good minus. See pictures for condition. And that was showcase number 35, second appearance of the Atom. And again, he's spot on the condition. This is a different seller, but spot on the condition. I really appreciate this seller. And he put it in this top loader to help protect it during shipping. Either that or that's just the way he had it. But either way, I'm happy with this purchase. The seller, he had it as a very good minus. And yeah, no question about it. Very good minus. Either one would have been, I would have appreciated either one. This next one is showcase number 36. Here's what they say. Third appearance of the Atom, 1962, DC Comics Silver Age. The book water staining on the back cover. Interior pages are off-white to tanning. Has cover creasing, which has broken color, corner and edge wear present that prevents any higher grade. Again, he's pretty much spot on, except he did not mention there's a little chip out of the corner here, but he did say there was some corner problems, so I'm not too worried about that. The stain, it's difficult to see, but the watermark is on the front cover as well. That's okay. Good description, spot on, nice, no problem with this seller either. And this is the kind of thing you got to look forward to. If I had taken a closer look at some of these comics, I might have passed on it, but not the Atoms. Those good prices, and the condition seemed appropriate for what I saw in the pictures. Next up, Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane. Look how nice that is. Very good. Solid, nice, glossy, and bright. So they're saying this is a solid comic. It's held on by this much of the spine. The front cover is held on by that much of the spine. Far from a solid, nice. I mean, it is a glossy, bright copy. As for solid, no way. I reached out to the seller, let him know. He said he was going to give me a 50% off on it, uh, or I could send it in for a refund. I accepted the 50% off. That was 4 or 5 days ago. I have not yet received it. I reached out to him again with a picture showing the really bad spine split, uh, and I did that today. So far, he has not responded. If he doesn't respond soon, I will take it to eBay and say, hey, look, this guy said he's going to give me 50% off because he sold me a comic that wasn't in the condition he described. And I'd like to keep the comic, but I don't want to pay full price for it. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll give you an update when it's finalized and what I decide. I may end up just flat sending it back and say, give him my money, and not dealing with that guy anymore. It all depends on what they do. If they do the right thing, no problem. If they don't do the right thing, I'll take additional action. So we'll see what happens with that. But I suspect if I said, hey, look, I want my money back, I suspect he'd say no. So I'd end up having to go through eBay to get it anyway, and then he'd leave me a bad review. I don't care. I don't like getting scammed, and to me, that is a scam. So, ethics on eBay. If you're going to sell comics on eBay, show them every little thing you can think of. Give a good description of the comic, and then don't grade it. Don't say, this is a. Just go with high grade, mid grade, low grade. If he hadn't said that was a low grade comic, no problem. I would have accepted it. If he had said it was mid grade, we would have had a problem. If he had said it was high grade, we would have had a problem. But basically, the way he put it was a nice, solid copy. To me, that's mid grade, not something where the cover is barely attached. So we'll see what happens. Hey, everybody, have yourself a great day and a great week, and we'll see you on Friday. Don't forget, come on by Friday evening to Horizon Picks auction claim sale, and we'll see you there. Bye.